Alright, what's up guys, it's YGO here. I'm going to be bringing you my deck profile for the Adignisters. This is one of my favorite decks that I have started playing ever since I found them being revealed, other than any of my other archetypes I may have like my Maransis or the Salamangrate, but by far this is one of my favorites of the Cybers archetype besides those. So, enough rambling about my favorites. I'm just going to go ahead and get started right into this profile. So, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Picari Adignister. This is your most important card of the deck. This is what gets you your field spell. This is what gets you your quick play monster reborn. And it sets you up for your level 4. So pretty much the basics of this effect is when this card is normal or special summoned to the field, you can search out any AI, spell, or trap from your deck and add it to your hand. It has a secondary effect that you can target one of your Ignister monsters on the field and make it a level 4. So it just gets you into your starting plays for all of your Ignister shenanigans. Next up we have a playset of Achichi Adignister, another one of your good play starters. This is your Rhoda, your Stratos, I should say, of the deck. When this card is normal or special summoned to the field, you can search out any one of your Ignister monsters and add it to your hand. It has a secondary additional effect that I don't personally use, but there is a nice little combo with it. So whenever your Cybers monster declares an attack, you can banish your Achichi from the graveyard, target your card on the field, destroy it. Now that only works with the Fire Phoenix Adignister, because when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can target one card on the field, destroy it, and then on the standby phase, that link monster comes back to the field. Other than that, I don't ever touch Achichi's secondary effect, because with the way I have my deck built, it's meant for like OTKing. So no need for the Banish from Grave to destroy. Next up, 2 copies of Baruru. I know a lot of the builds that I've seen online run this as a 3 of, but for me I like it as a 2 of, only because it's the tuner and you can just search it off of your Chi-Chi or your Cybers Wicked in mid-combo. It's a foolish burial of the deck, so when it's sent to from the deck, or when it's summoned to the field, either normal or special, you can send one of your Ignister monsters from your deck to the graveyard. And then its secondary ability is whenever you use this monster for the summon of a Cybers Synchro, you get to special summon back the other material that was used. So I'll probably after the deck profile is over with, I'll show like a quick combo hand if I can get something good. I'll show like at least a decent end board. 2 copies of Doshin. He is one of the other ones that special summons itself freely when you control another Adignister monster on your board. He has the ability to target a Cyber Slink monster in your graveyard, shuffle it back into the extra deck to add a I Love Fusion from your deck to your hand. So he gets your fusion card that you can use to get into your other fusion monster in the extra deck. Then next up we have 2 copies of Hyari Adignister. This card you can tribute off one of your other Adignister monsters to add a level 5 or higher Adignister monster from your deck to your hand, and then if you do, this card becomes level 4 until the end of this turn. Then if you tribute your Link monster to activate this effect, you can also add the Eyes Ritual, but I don't run the Ritual monster or the Ritual spell. It's come down to the point where it's become too cloggy for me, in a sense, so I just try to take away the clogginess of the deck just to get it to its OTK potential. The last 2 ofs for the Adignisters are Doyon. When he is normal or special summon, you could target one of your Adignister monsters in the graveyard to add it back to your hand. When he is sent to the graveyard for the summon of a Link Cybers monster, you get to add back one of your Adignister, or not Adignisters, one of your Eye Spell or traps from the graveyard. The only 2 that you run in here is your Idle Reborn or your Ignister Island. For now, until we get the other support, like Eye Contact, I think we're getting it at some point. Now, the next up cards are going to just be kind of little support. I say this is like an honorary Adignister card, Prohibit Snake. This was also in the winning Salamangrate for the YCS deck profile, if I'm not mistaken, but pretty much at the start of the damage step, if your Cybers Link monster battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card from your hand and bounce that card back from the field to your opponent's hand. which is nice, and then it can special summon itself back from the graveyard whenever one of your Cyberus monsters destroys a monster by battle. Next up, nice little tech, Nightmare Corruptor Ible. Now, I'm sure a lot of you remember seeing this card being used with Orcust when Nightmare Mermaid was running amok, but this card for this deck actually protects us from Nibiru, because if you use this for link material and gets sent to the graveyard, you can special summon it to your opponent's side of the field, and then all they can only special summon link monsters, which means they can't hit you with Nibiru in the middle of your combos, because Nibiru is not a link monster, which is really helpful for a lot of things, because this deck is like big Nibiru bait. So that's it for the monster count. I'm just going to go ahead and go with the spells. We're going to be playing 3 copies of Ignister Island. So what pretty much an essential with this card is, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon Ignister monsters from your hand with the different attributes being the light, fire, dark, earth, water, and wind from your hand only once off this effect. Any other times after that, you can't special summon them more than once. So this card also helps with your play starting. So if you open up with this, you're pretty good. But if you don't open up with this and you have a Picari, you would normal summon your Picari to search this out, and then you can just start, going through your combos off of what you have in your hand, depending on how good your hand is. But this card is the most important thing in the deck, other than like the other things. Then we have standard Call by the Grave, because this deck is hand trap bait, like hand trap bait city. Ash Blossom really hurts us, as like for the most part, but normally we can play around that, so it's not a big deal. But still, Call's just too good not to play still. And then we run 3 copies of Idol Reborn. So you can target one add Ignister monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon a monster for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except for Cyberus monsters. And then when an attack is declared involving 2 monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard and 1 card from your hand, then target one of your AI spell traps that is banished or in your graveyard, except for Idol Reborn. So there's not really any other spells to target that get banished other than like Ignister Island. So the second effect of this really doesn't apply just yet until we get more support. But yeah, that's like the other good card that you search out with Picari. Next up, triple copies of Signet Mining. This card is just a given for any Cyberus deck that requires you to search out like play starters. So if you're playing this deck, you're going to need the Signet Minings for it. Thankfully, it's now super budgety because of Dual Overload coming out, which is really nice. Next, and then we have 2 Twin Twisters, because we need back row hate to OTK with this. So 2 Twin Twisters or like Cosmic Cyclones or any of that combination is fine. Then we have 1 copy of I Love Fusion. With this card, you can fusion summon 1 Cyberus fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. And then if you use an Ignister monster as fusion material, you can also use 1 link monster your opponent controls. So in a sense, this is like a Fusion of Fire, or like a really soft Super Poly, just because it's not a quick effect. But not a quick effect, but a quick play. But it's our in-archetype version of Fusion of Fire. You can use Fusion of Fire as well, but this is just searchable. Then we have the Lonely Terraforming to search out our field spell if we don't see it in opening hand and we really need it. That's it for the spells. We're going to move on to the traps. We run 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence in this deck, because it's just a staple card, too good not to run, and you just want to be able to lock your opponent out of their zones to activate spells in. So, now that it came out in Dual Overload, now's the time budget players pick it up. It's between $15 and $20 right now. It's so much better than paying the $40 to $60 for the other 2 printings, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. And then the last set of trap cards is 3 copies of Evenly Matched. This is a great board buster for your deck. This is what you want to be able to do. You want to break your opponent's board, then set up next turn so you can OTK. That's it for the main deck. For our extra deck, We're running 2 copies of Lingaribo, the newest Lingaribo to follow suit with the family. What this guy is, he only takes a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster. When your opponent activates a trap card, you can quick effect tribute this, negate the activation, and destroy the trap card. It's really, really good, especially against like Altergeist or any trap-heavy deck. In general, it's just he's a good boy. He may look bad, but he's a good boy. Then we run 1 single only copy of Lingaribo. Everybody knows what Lingaribo is. He's just another helpful thing. If I don't have much, I can end on a Lingaribo and a Lingaribo with a really, really bad hand. But we don't like that. Then we have Update Jammer for the OTK that Salamangrates usually do. Then we have Cyberse Wicked. This is the card that really starts the combos for us, because when a monster special summon to a zone it points to, you can banish 1 Cyberse monster from your graveyard to add a tuner monster from your deck. The only tuner that we run in this deck right currently is Baruru, and that's searchable off of Cyberse Wicked. And then Cyberse monsters that this card points to can't be destroyed by battle, and this card itself can't be destroyed by battle while it's in the extra monster zone. It's really nice. Transcode Talker for more power for OTKing. It just easily gets you back your Cyberse Wicked, and then you can have another monster here to go into your Dark Templar. It's just easy to set up your combos with this extra deck. 1 copy of Dark Templar Ignistion. So this takes 3 monsters with different names. And if a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, even during the damage step, you can special summon as many level 4 or lower Ignistion monsters from your graveyard as possible to your zones this card points to, but their effects are negated, which is fine. That helps us get into our Synchro and our XCs. So he has another effect that when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 1 Cyberse monster from your graveyard. You're going to use each effect of Dark Templar Ignistion once per turn. So with this card on the board, if this card destroys a monster by battle, depending on your graveyard, you can normally bring back your Transcode Talker. So it's pointing this way, so it gives you a 800 boost or any Cyberse Link monster from your grave. You can even bring back your Dark Fluid off of this if like it comes down to that. Then we're running 1 copy of Topologic Zeroboros. We're an OTK deck, so we really don't care about losing our board to banishing, because he'll just come back and be super beefy and just punch for the game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Dark Fluid that I was just talking about, Firewall, Dragon, Dark Fluid. He takes 3 plus effect monsters. He gains counters on him for each Fusion, XC, Synchro, and Ritual monster in your graveyard. And then during the battle phase only, he gains 2,500 attack for each counter on him. So essentially, you're going to be getting him up to like a little over 10,000 attack. I think close to like 13,000 is like his max. But he can remove counters from him to negate monster effects, and it's not once per turn or once per chain. So you can remove counters from it as many times as you want for as many like monster effects that activate. And now, if you remove a counter from him during the battle phase, he gets a secondary attack. So he's like super nice. He's a little bit better than Apollosa just because like he gains more attack, and it's not a once per chain kind of thing. So it's essentially better in a cheaper Apollosa, but I digress. 2 more, and then we're running into the Synchros now. We're running 2 copies of Wind Pegasus Ignistion. So this guy right here, it's non-target destruction to the back row. You can pop as many back row cards as equal to the number of Ignistion monsters you control. And then, if another card or cards you control would be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is on the field or in your graveyard, I can banish this card, then target one card my opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. So it has a Harpy's Feather Duster effect on top of a Nightmare Unicorn effect, all in just like 1 card. So this card's like super nice, really good like bouncing to like just say, bye. 1 Cyberse Quantum Dragon. While you control a Link monster, monsters your opponent control cannot target monsters you control for attacks except this one. Also, your opponent cannot target monsters you control with card effects except this one. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that opponent's monster to the hand. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. Then we have 2 copies of Light Dragon Ignistion. This boy is a rank 4 Dingirsu. He is so good for this deck. So pretty much, he has a Raigeki ability. You can detach 1 material from him, blow up your opponent's board equal to the number of ignistion monsters that you control. And then he also has the constant static effect that if a card or cards you control would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, detach to protect. And then his last effect is whenever another Cyberus monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target 1 Cyberus monster in your graveyard to special summon it. So he's Recursion from the graveyard. He is a Raigeki and a Dingirsu for this deck, which is super amazing. And then the last card that I run in the extra deck is Earth Golem Ignistion. When this card's fusion summon, you take no battle damage for the rest of the turn. If this card attacks a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, this card gains attack equal to its original attack during the damage step only. And then when this card is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 Cyberus monster in your graveyard, except for Earth Golem Ignistion, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Earth Golem Ignistion once per turn. But that rounds up the extra deck. I have a side deck. It's nothing grand, but we'll run through the side deck real quick. Give me 1 second here. So for our side deck, we're running 2 copies of Mind Control, just because we could steal opponent's monsters going second and just be able to have more material for linking. Then we have more back row hate with Cosmic Cyclones. We have our Kaiju, because we don't care about our normal summons. We have the Winged Dragon or Raw Sphere mode. And then we have 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, because just in case spirals are still a thing. That's really good to shut them down. Any deck that just searches to add to hand, it just gets shut down. Then we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I don't main deck them because I think they're absolute trash, but some other people would disagree with me on that, but as of right now, that's how it stands. Only 1 copy of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme for now, until I can hopefully open some more boxes to pull him or just outright buy him. Then we have 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, because break a board, setup, same reasoning as Evenly Matched. But that is my Ignistion deck profile. I'll do a quick shuffle of my deck. I'll do a quick shuffle, then I'll do a test hand to see what we can set up for a going second board. So I will get right back. Alright guys, so we're back. I'm going to go ahead, like I said, do a quick test hand for a going second. See what we get here. Probably nothing too great here. So we've got options here. We have a Baruru, a Doyon, an Idol Reborn, a Doshin. So honestly here, I would probably say we would normal summon our Baruru, and that will send us our Bakari to the graveyard so we can get more combos started. Since we opened up with the Idol Reborn, that's really nice for us. So we might actually be able to go a full combo for a win. This is also guaranteeing that we won't have someone like getting interrupted with like a hand trap or something. But yeah. So then we're going to go ahead and activate Idol Reborn from our hand, targeting the Picarian graveyard to special summon it. We'll put it in defense mode. Then we'll get the Picari Ignistion's effect to search off our island. But that's why I said Terraforming is in this deck just for that reason. For that, Baruru is just nice because if you have plays that you want to try to extend off to, you can just foolish off if you open up with the right cards. So then we'd go ahead and activate the island, and we would link away the Picari and the Baruru, and we would just go straight into our link 2 of our Wicked. Then we'd activate our Islands effect to special summon our Doshin from the grave. we'll just get rid of the Baruru from there, because we can get it back. We can target the Picari off of Doyon to add it back to our hands. Linking away our Doyon and our Cyberse Wicked. And we can go into our Transcode Talker. Then we would get our effect of Island again. We would special summon the Picari. Doesn't really matter. And then special summon back the Cyberse Wicked off of Transcode Talker's effect. We would link away for all three to go into our Dark Templar Ignister. Using the effect of Doshin itself to special summon itself to his own. I forgot to add the other Baruru, so that's my fault. So that's fine. So we'll just take that back real quick. I forgot to do the Cyberse Wicked effect. Yeah. So don't forget about doing that if you're playing this. Always use the Cyberse Wicked's effect and get your Baruru from your deck to your hand. So now we back that up. Now we can go ahead and special summon the Baruru. No effect. So then we get Templar's effect to go off. And we bring back our Picari and our Doyon to the field. So now we can go into our Synchro and our Xyz. So first we're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon using Baruru, Ignister, and Picari. And also, if we're playing this also with the new Master Rule changes, you don't need to worry about placing this wherever. It doesn't have to go into the zones. But just for the sake of things, we'll summon Wind Pegasus under the Dark Templar, and then we'll activate Baruru's effect from the graveyard to special summon back our Picari. Now we're going to use the Picari and the Doyon to Xyz summon into Light Dragon Ignister. Now if your opponent has anything on their board, you can just go effect of Light Dragon, detach, blow up their main board, Wind Pegasus to blow up their backboard. Then you can go for battle phase, Wind Pegasus would attack, triggering your effect of Ignister. I guess honestly we can move this over because we want this zone opened up so we can bring back our Transcode Talker off of Light Dragon Ignister's effect. And then, you know, Dark Templar would go off. We wouldn't get his effect to get another monster back just because we blew everything up just in case. But right here it would be enough for OTKing. And if not, even before battle phase, we can just special summon out the Doshin that we have and add just a little bit more effect to it and just return our Cyberse Wicked to search out our I Love Fusion from our deck to our hands. And instead of just going to battle phase with this, we can go I Love Fusion using our I guess we wouldn't be able to use our I Love Fusion because we don't have a Link monster to go into Earth Golem. But if we did have an extra Link monster to go into, we could just use I Love Fusion, the Nightmare Corruptor, Idly. You know, this board is kind of messed up at this point. So, sorry about that. But think of zones just for the fact you need a zone for a Link monster to point to. So we would go Doshin to link away the Doshin and go into our Link Karibo. And then we would use the I Love Fusion and the Nightmare Incarnation, or Nightmare Corruptor Ibly, and go to Earth Golem. And this would be game right here. This would just be game itself with no other questions about it, because that's a total of 23, 23, 23, 23, and 28. Noticing a pattern here with all the Ignisters, they're all extra deck monsters have a 2300 attack. But anyways, that's besides the point. Thank you guys so much for watching this profile. For more content, give my page a like and smash that subscribe button for more for future content. But yeah,